awkward. He really feels awkward, and until he makes friendship with some people. So in much the same way, I think when we come from the pilgrimage here into this Western environment, we feel that something is lacking here, and you don't really know what it is. It looks like a place of empty hearts, but what exactly is the vacuum? You only get to know this after some time. In Vrindavan and other holy places of Krishna, consciousness or pilgrimage, Krishna is absolutely in the center. And here in the West, Krishna is at best part of our world, but not in the center. And the center is still the same mind, which is a little bit filled with concerns, worries, thoughts, insecurities, anxieties, and so on. So it's about the center, really, which is so different. That makes you feel like, oh, where am I? So I thought to sing with you Jai Radha Madhava, then go a little through the Gita. Now perhaps we need to prepare that. Jayatam, do we have enough Bhagavad Gitas here? We have 2. I have my own, but Lega Shavanti, sorry, ich habe dich noch gar nicht gesehen und begrüßt. Haben wir ausreichend Bhagavad Gitas? Oder? Oh ja. Wie machen wir das? Wollen wir das Link dann?
Willst du es auf dem Beamer machen?
Welches Kapitel?
Das 15. dachte ich.
Ich schick's mal in die Runde.
Wie bitte?
Ich schick das mal hier in die Runde.
Ach, du hast so die Runde so auf deinem Telefon?
WhatsApp schick ich's mal.
Wow. Ihr wollt es auf einem Beamer tun und dann, also ach so, ihr könnt ja die Verse sogar auf dem Beamer tun. Aber lass uns mal nicht so lange mit der Technik uns verstricken. Und wenn du mit der Technik operierst, mach doch die Linse zu, dass nicht die ganze Aufmerksamkeit. Jayantam, you know to play Mridanga, isn't it? Not too loud, no? What? Yes, kirtans. I don't have kirtans. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihari Jaya Radha Punya Vihari Radha Madhava Punya Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Vallabha Braja Jana Jana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Jana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Vihari So, Hare Krishna. I think every one of you knows, but as a matter of introduction to the subject matter, I just would like to say that today was the day where one of the most heavy conflicts happened in the history of this planet. But in the midst of this terrible war, the Bhagavad Gita, the jewel of spiritual knowledge, appeared. And I think that is always a little bit the motto of this world, no? There is so much darkness, and then in the midst of this darkness, we have to find the light. We have to find it. So let me say that I see there is a translation. Is that a fact? Du machst eine Übersetzung. Ja, aber einer, da reden die ganze Zeit Leute, das seid ihr, oder? Ja, vielleicht einfach, ich glaube, eine Übersetzung ist nicht so wichtig, wir chanten einfach und dann rede ich ein bisschen was und dann könnt ihr ja einfach in Meditation versunken sein und vielleicht nicht reden. Gut. Amongst all the various chapter, there is the 15th chapter is known as the Yoga of the Supreme Person, and I thought to chant this with you. Prabhupada once, my spiritual master once explained that chanting these Sanskrit verses acts like thunder. You do not need to understand the language of the thunder. You just get affected in your heart. So in the same way, the Sanskrit vibration, as it was spoken by Krishna, will affect our heart on a deep level. Let me just start here with the Shri Bhagavanu Vacha. We will just chant through Ujva Mulam Madashakam Ashvatam Prahu Avyayam Chandamsi yasya panani yastam veda saveda ved Adashodvam pashitas tasya saka. We can do better. Let's do it again. Adashodvam pashitas tasya shaka guna pravida vishaya avalam adasya mulanyanusantatani kamanubandini manushya loke narupamasye atato palapyate nato nachadir nachapsam patishta ashvatamenam suvirudamulam asanga shastrena idena chitva tata param tat parimagitavyam yasmin gatana nivatanti bhuyam tameva chatyam purusham papadye yatha pravitti pashita purani nirmana mohajita sangadosha adhyatma nitya vinivitta kamam dvandve vimukta sukha dukkha sangha gacchantyamuda paramavyayam tad natat pasayate suyo na shashanko na pavakam yat gatvana nivatante tatama paramam mamam mama evangso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manakshashtanindriyani prakriti stanika shati shariram yatavapnoti jatsyapyutkramatishvaraha grihit vaitani sangyati vayogandan nivashayat shrotram chakshushpashanam cha rasanam granamevacha adhishtaya manasayam vishayanupasevatai utkramantam stitam vapi bhunjanam vagunanvitam vimudananupashyanti pashyanti jnana chakshusha yatanto yoginaschainam pashyantyatmanyavastitam yatanto pyakritatmano nainam pasyanta cetasaha yadadityagatam tejo jagadbhasayate kilam yatsannamasi jatshakno tattejo vidimamakam gama vishyacha bhutani darayam yahamojasam pushnami choshadi sarva somo budvara satmaka aham vaishvanaro bhutva praninam dehamashritam pranapana samayukta achamyanam chaturvidam sarvasya cha anivishto atasmiti jnanamapohanam cha vedasya saberahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda vedeva cha Dvavimo purusho loke Charashakshara eva cha Charasavani bhutani Kutastokshara ushate Ama purushastvanyam Paramatmetyudarita Yo lokatrayamavishya Vivadya vyaya ishvaraham Yasmacharammatitoham Aksharat apitat manaham Atosmi loke vedecha Ratita purushottamaham Yo mang asamuto Janati purushottamam Sa sarvavid bhajati mam Sava bhavina bhavadam Yatamam shastram Idam muktam mayanagam Ete udvabhudiman syat Krita kritasya varadam. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. So beautiful how you chant. Is everyone fine with English? Ja? Richtig, das muss man Deutsch fragen. Fühlt ihr die allergrößte Freude, wenn ihr die englische Sprache hört? Ich glaube, so kann man das nicht sagen. Let us hear a little bit about the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, if you read it carefully, day by day, very regularly, you will actually come to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, at the end, or Sanjaya actually, is describing the Bhagavad Gita. He says, I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. Imagine Sanjaya had long hair, so if it stood on end, that was quite a vision, no? And he says, by the mercy of Vyasadeva, that's a form of Krishna, who is the literary incarnation, by the mercy of Vyasadeva, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism. Who could that be? Krishna, yes, who was speaking personally to Arjuna. O king, as I repeatedly remember this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure. I'm thrilled at every moment. O king, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I'm struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again. And then the whole work ends. Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power and morality. That is my opinion. So here we hear the Phala Shruti, the result of hearing Bhagavad Gita. You become full of pleasure, and you remember Krishna, and finally you will be in your life blessed with opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and dharma, morality. This will all happen just by the recitation of the Gita. The Gita, as you know, was revealed plus minus 5,000 years ago, and we hear in another scripture, sacred scripture, how the Gita has pleased another reader. 500 years ago, that's 4,500 years later, there was one Brahmana, we hear in this Chaitanya Charitamrita, who tried to read the Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit like all of you have done. There must have been some mistakes in your pronunciation, but he was totally wrong at times. It was really stumbling through the lines, and a very, very wonderful personality was looking at him from the distance and watching him very closely. It was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who stood nearby and who saw this Brahmana fumbling, stumbling, and going through the Bhagavad Gita, as there were about 500 people who were laughing at his wrong pronunciation. I think if some Sanskrit scholars would have been here when we chanted the 15th chapter, they would also roll on the floor in laughter. Oh, the Germans are trying to speak Sanskrit. Yes. So the same thing happened. The people in the temple who saw the Brahmana trying to pronounce the Sanskrit were laughing. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu watched this for some time, and then he went directly to the Brahmana and said, Brahmana, you are trying to speak read the Bhagavad Gita. Yes, said the Brahmana, I read the Bhagavad Gita, but I can't read very well in Sanskrit. I made so many mistakes, and I see this, said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but when I see you as you chant, I also see that you have tears of ecstasy in your heart. What's the reason? Why are you so ecstatic and continue to chant, although you don't know how to chant? So the Brahmana said, my dear, he did not know who was speaking to him. Well, I chant because my Guru Maharaj told me I should chant the Sanskrit. But when I chant this book, I don't know how, but I see Krishna sitting on the chariot with Arjuna, and just seeing the form of the Lord gives me so much ecstasy. My dear devotees, today in our Gora Bhavan, in our little ashram, there was a recitation of the entire Bhagavad Gita, and I was participating in this recitation, and I also, when I was reading this Gita, I felt so close to Krishna. I had such a wonderful experience. I felt I went through the whole Vedic library. I felt the wisdom of the Vedas directly speaking to my heart, and I was really amazed of the effect of chanting the Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit, and because I had a similar feeling like countless readers of the Bhagavad Gita have done. They feel somehow or other the closeness of Krishna. There are many known people like Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi. He said, when doubts come over me and when disappointments stare me in the face and I see not one ray of hope on the horizon, I turn to the Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me. And I immediately begin to smile in the midst of overwhelming sorrow. Those who meditate on the Gita will derive fresh joy and new meanings from it every day. This is the power of a sacred scripture. And I would like to give you a few meditations from the Bhagavad Gita today for you to enjoy perhaps. The Gita is Krishna's secret message of love for all those who hear it. And because Krishna speaks it to Arjuna, he gives 5 general messages. Arjuna is very dear to him. Krishna once visited, while he did his Leela on this planet, a great assembly where there were many sages and kings present, and he said, "A friend of Arjuna and the Pandavas is my friend, and their enemy is my enemy. Arjuna and his 4 brothers are my very life heirs. They are giving me life." So when Krishna saw that Arjuna was overwhelmed with sorrow and confusion, he was dazed and confused and beyond himself, then Krishna, to lift his consciousness, gave him 5 types of instructions. General instructions, Guya or secret instructions, Guyataram, more secret, and Guyatam, most secret, and finally he gave him Sava Guyatamam instructions, the most secret of all secrets. Would you like to hear these 5 levels?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it will give you also feelings of joy. It will give you the feeling of being close to Krishna. So therefore, let us go through these 5 levels, which are almost like sugarcane. You know, sugarcane is first a stalk, then it's they boil the stalks, also das sind Rohre, Zuckerrohr, es wächst so wirklich in Rohren, and so they take these stalks, they boil them, and then it's molasses. No, then it's first sugarcane juice, then it concentrates even more to molasses, and finally you have rock candy. So in the same way, it is Vinay, Hare Krishna, welcome. It is with Krishna's instructions. From general to the most secret of all secrets, the sweetness becomes condensed and condensed and condensed. And then you have just deep, deep rock candy sweet instructions. So let's hear first an example of general instructions which Krishna gives. Let me see, I put this for you. Yes, he says, he first needs to discuss the concept of identity. Who are we? And he says in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, one thing must be first of all established. You, Arjuna, and all other living beings are different from their bodies, which are just like dresses. Just like the person is different from his pants and shirts, you are also different from your dresses. And this is what he says. Vasang sijanani yata vihaya navani grinati naro parani. To go a little higher, no? Tata sharirani vihaya janani anyani samyati navani dehi. This is what Krishna says. As a person puts on a new garment and gives up the old ones, the soul similarly accepts no material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. This was the favorite verse of my father, who was 96 or 94, I forgot. 97. He was 97 years old when he died last year. And he had a verse on his Nachruf, the Todesanzeige, what was published after him, where he says, I am living in this body like a person lives in a house. And when I leave my house, my old house, then I continue somewhere else. So this is he took this inspiration from this verse. You give up the material body like you give an old garment, and you take on a new body like you take on a new garment, but you are different, you are eternal. That is a general instruction where Krishna talks about identity. He also gives other instructions how to conduct yourself if you want to live a spiritual life. He says, one who doesn't eat too much, but also not too little. One who doesn't sleep too much, but also not too little. Who's balanced, he can be a yogi. And he gives recommendations. He says, never, learn to control your senses. Otherwise, your senses, when they become wild and untamed, they are like horses that pull you away from the path of spiritual advancement. These are all general instructions. You will find this in any spiritual tradition, in any authorized or bona fide or ancient traditional religion. It is Krishna goes further to what he calls the guha, the secret instructions. How does someone act who understands that I'm actually a soul and I am different from my body? I need to find this for you. It's here. Na Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Na Sochati Na Kangshati Samasaveshu Bhuteshu Mat Bhaktim Labate Param. One who is thus transcendentally situated, who understands about his identity, at once realizes the supreme Brahman. What's that? That's God. And becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state he attains pure devotional service unto me. My God, that's a lot now. Now he gets into it. What does he say? Let's stop a little bit. When you are transcendentally situated, you are always joyful. You are no longer a slave to desire. No, you don't desire anything from this world. And when something goes wrong here in this world, and you don't lament, you are neutral. What is about your relationship to others? Well, you're equal to others. You don't see people as friends and enemies any longer, and so on. You are just pacified, in one word, and it is from this level that you can go further and enter the world of bhakti or devotional service. But this is not all. Krishna gives Guyataram instructions, more secret ones. What he says is, where you can meet him. Do you have any idea where you could meet Krishna? Vanunandini knows always everything. He's in the heart. You actually don't need to go very far. God is so close that He has made His residence in the most beautiful place which you have, that is the innermost core of your heart. There He lives as your neighbor. He's really the neighbor. You are there, the soul, and He is there as the super soul. Now, if you want to feel Him, you need to meditate a little bit. You need to go through the door of your perception. You don't need to always run outside with your intention. You must go become antamukha, that means inward facing, and then meditate about Krishna. But how? Kavim Puranam Manushashitaram Ano Aniyang Samanu Smaredya Savasya Dataram Achintya Rupam Adityavanam Tamasa Parastat. Please repeat. Aditya Vanam Tamasa Parastat. Here is how you meditate about the Supreme. First of all, as the one who is omniscient. He knows everything. He knows your secret desires, Kunya Bihari. He knows what you really think about Helmut Kohl. You don't even know Helmut Kohl. He is the Chancellor who brought the Vereinigung zwischen West- und Ostdeutschland. Yeah? He knows everything. He is the oldest. Never was there a time when He was not existing. In the past, in the present, in the future. He is the actual mover. He's the controller. He is smaller than the smallest. He maintains everyone, from the elephant to the lion to the ant to the human beings. He's beyond all material conceptions. Your mind cannot reach Him so easily. He's inconceivable, in other words, and He's always a person. Now, how do you particularly meditate about Him? Well, you meditate about the light that comes from Him. He is luminous like the sun. He is transcendental beyond this material nature. Do you sometimes meditate? What do you do when you meditate, if I may know? Perhaps you breathe in, but you breathe. You practice some breathing. Then you need to do manasangharanam, pull your mind away from the many external thoughts, and then you bring it actually in the heart area, the mind thing. And there, a good way to meditate is to see the light, a bright light in the sun, and from there you can go to more personal forms of meditation. So this is given here. You should always see Him as luminous, full of light, like the sun. Would you like to do this? Please sit straight. Leave your mobile telephones for just a tiny second alone. I know it's difficult here in the West. And let us breathe in and out. now draw your attention to the heart area. I will read to you now this verse about the Lord of the heart. Meditate upon Him as the Supreme Person who knows everything. He is the oldest. He's the master and the controller of everything in your life. He's smaller than the smallest. He's the maintainer of everyone and everything. He's beyond all your material conceptions, inconceivable, and He's always a person. He shines like the sun, and He is transcendent beyond this material nature. And we will end with a mantra from the Bhagavad Gita. Meditate, and that's how you conclude with Om Tat Sat. No? Now we have heard general instructions about our spiritual identity and how to conduct ourselves in spiritual life. We have heard more secret instructions. We have then entered a little bit more secret ones about the Lord in the heart. Then there, and you must know, there are like 50 instructions on all these levels, or more or less, you know. And then we will now hear Guyatamam, the most secret instructions. That is how to live a life in full God consciousness. Krishna says, oh, this is, oh my God, should I tell it or should I be silent about this? Mat kama krin mat paramo mat bhakta sangavajita nivaira sarva bhuteshu yasamangati pandava. This comes in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The 11th chapter is a very interesting interplay. Krishna had ended in the 10th chapter about how everything comes from him. He had given a summary of the Bhagavad Gita in 4 verses. I'm the source of everything. Everything indeed rests upon me like the pearls resting on a string. Everything, even the Bundesparlament, or the rivers, or the mountains, or the mighty Himalayas, no? And he had spoken about how he is present in the heart, and if someone turns to him, he helps from within. He is there as the super soul. We had done this little meditation about the Lord of the Heart. He's there, but he's actively there. He helps. I think many of you have noticed that helping hand when you actually came to spiritual life. No? How many arrangements were there? So many arrangements. And similarly, if you don't fall asleep in your spiritual practice, like conventional devotees do, if you don't fall asleep, you will actually feel that when you make an effort to turn to him, a special effort, he immediately responds and reciprocates. It's magical. Especially you see this in Vrindavan. Especially, he seems to be just around the corner, and once you become serious to meet him, he's there. So how do we act on that fully awakened state? My dear Arjuna, listen carefully. He who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contamination of material desires and mental speculation, he who works for me, he who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is at the same time not a sectarian person, but remains friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. Amazing verse. Would you like to find this in your own reading? It's 11:55. He gives like 5 instructions that keep us above the clouds. Engagement in some devotional service. This refers to hearing about him, chanting his glories, meditating or remembering about him, then worshipping him on the altar. Then you do this. You are careful to avoid your own sense gratificatory desires and mental speculation, and then you work for Krishna, like some of you have cooked today or helped cooking. Yes, and so on. And then one who makes him the supreme goal of his life. And this is the last thing is very important. What is it? Nirvaira Savabhuteshu. He's not an enemy to anyone. Sectarian religion means I'm the only one who is true, who's right, and everyone is wrong. No, and often religious people are the most intolerant people whom you can meet, because they are just so convinced that they are right and everyone is wrong. But that's sectarianism. That has nothing to do with what the Bhagavad Gita stands for. It says, Nivaira Savabhuteshu. One is friendly to all living beings. I saw this again when I was in India. There was one sadhu, one saintly person who walked the path, and I noticed he would always, go down and put something on the ground, and I went very close and looked, and do you know what he did? He had a bag of sugar, and he put the sugar into the ants' holes. He wanted to feed the ants. This is Nivaira Savabhuteshu. Normal people walk over the ants. No? Ein Ameisenbrei ist übrig. He was feeding the ants. What a generous person. But then Krishna wants to speak what he himself says, Savaguyatamang, the most secret of all secrets. Would you like to hear that? Good. I would have told you anyways. It is here. Sarva Guyatamang, the most confidential of all. Bhuya Shrino me paramang vacha ishtosi me dridamiti tato vakshyami tehitam. Because you are my very dear friend, I'm speaking to you now, my supreme instruction. He says this is Sarva Guyatamam, the secret of all secrets. It's the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. And now, are you ready for the most confidential instructions? By the way, this is the only text which Krishna repeats. He never says the same. He does not repeat himself. Well, no, but it's not a repetition. But this one he repeats verbatim. Verbatim means word by word. I want to chant this with you, but I've chanted first alone. Man mana bhava mat bhakto madhyaji mang namaskuru mame vaisyasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. I will go 3 words at a time. Man mana bhava mat bhakto madhyaji mang namaskuru mame vaisyasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. Earlier in the text, Krishna has said, be careful, you yourself can be your worst enemy. It's your mind which very often acts as your own worst enemy. And one must learn, he had said, how to make the mind one's friend. And here now he says how to do this. Always think of me. Fill your thoughts with thoughts of me. Become my devotee. That is, feel devotion in your heart, and as a result do something for me. No? A lover wants to please the beloved. No? Then worship me through incense, through words, through glories, glorification, and finally offer your homage unto me. Bow down, bring your head to the ground and let your heart rise. You know, this happens when you bow down. Have you seen? Your head goes on the ground and your heart rises over your head. You know, the heart is the seat of the soul and the super soul. Let the soul rise and let it pay its homage to the Supreme Soul. Thus you will come to me without fail. And he ends this most secret of all secrets. I promise you this. I promise. Promise. Because you are my very dear friend. With these most confidential instruction, Krishna leads his disciple Arjuna, from general instructions that one is not the body, one is different from the body, which is only like a dress. He leads him to the most secret of all secrets, think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Then I give you a promise. You will come to me, you will live with me, you will dance with me, you will be like a spark who had previously fallen out of the fire, who has again joined into the fire. This is Krishna's Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita ki! Jai! Hare Krishna. Yes. I think we can understand why Sanjaya, who is reciting the Bhagavad Gita to whom? To the blind king, Dhritarashtra. He says at the end, and when I remember this conversation, I'm totally ecstatic. My hair stand on end. Arjuna had heard all these instructions, and he also became totally free from all doubts and all illusions. He said, my illusions are now gone, Krishna, and I'm prepared to act according to your desire. When Arjuna's deepest crisis came, he also again found shelter in the teachings of the Gita. When was Arjuna's moment of pain and confusion, which was even worse than at the beginning of the Kurukshetra war? It had happened when in Arjuna's word, Yudhishthira's word, when the sun of the world left and everything turned into darkness. Imagine the sun would leave our global sphere. Everything would sink into darkness, and it would be very cold, especially for those from Bangladesh. Very, very cold. But also for us, we would all freeze to death. So this is what happened when Krishna left this planet. The planet had, all kinds of inauspicious things happened. Quarrels amongst friends. Friends were cheating each other. The streets became unsafe. There were jackals and herds of wild donkeys running through the streets. It was really apocalyptic when Krishna left. And Arjuna, for whom Krishna was all and everything, sank in an ocean of despair. At that time, what saved him was recalling or remembering the instructions of Govinda. Govinda, this name of Krishna, means he who pleases all the senses and especially the heart. So he remembered the instructions of Lord Krishna, who is known as Govinda, he who gives life to the senses. It is said his mind became free from the trash. Trash, wie sagt man das in Deutsch? Also Abfall ist noch ein gelindes Wort. Das ist ein krasses Wort für Abfall. Müll. Ja, sein Geist wurde frei vom inneren Müll. Man muss das so übersetzen, Trash. Ne? When he recalled the Bhagavad Gita. So my dear devotees, dear friends, dear skeptics, how often do you read in the Bhagavad Gita? Perhaps on this day you can think of increasing your reading, maybe 3 verses a day sometimes, or 1 verse, or from time to time, but it's good to have a regular contact with the Bhagavad Gita. When there was this reading in the ashram of the Gita, everything became so blissful, and we became free from jet lag. It's a serious problem, when you come from so far. Yes. Good. this I wanted to say. Let me now secretly, without you noticing it. Wow, we are exactly on time. What happened? Because we are in the Gita. Philo, wir reden über die Gita und alles klappt. Philo, ich dachte, dass du jetzt vielleicht hier hinkommst, weil dass wir ein bisschen zusammensitzen. Ich dachte, I'm thinking, I would like to show you some slides from our last journey. Is this a good idea? Wie bitte? Ach so, yes. I want to say goodbye to those of us who were on the internet, online. It was a pleasure to have you here with us, and please stay tuned in. Tomorrow we will speak about the gifts of Vrindavan Dham. It will be in the Dharma Castle, but I guess everything is the same online. You go to the same link. Hare Krishna.